Okay, we're going to briefly address the Bantu myth. There's a Bantu mythology, and we're going to base this addressing of the subject matter to our brother Beizil 77 and other brothers and sisters who have also presented various questions on this matter of, are we, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the Beit Israel over here in the West, are we really Bantu like many or certain Ethiopians and other Africans may assume? First of all, Beizil commented on one of our most recent videos regarding Rastafari or the Patriotic Ethiopians and End Time Prophecy 2012, and he said, "Good video, man. When I try to dialogue with some Ethiopians, they always want to tell me that I'm not Ethiopian. I'm Bantu, and there is no connection between me and them. I told them that there is a connection and we are brethren, but I just can't articulate the facts to them properly." Brother, you're not alone, at least in the aspect that we're being, again, misnamed and misqualified by others trying to dictate to us who we are, even those certain or some Ethiopians who really don't even know if they're really Ethiopian or not. I mean, when we really consider what the term Ethiopian actually means. It's like today when people say, "I'm American." Yovas, if you go back a couple of hundred years, those who would have said that they are American, we can trace their roots probably directly out of Europe. You understand, coming out of Europe, and they received charters and other authorization from their, how can you say, from their people, like, you know, from the English crown and everything, to colonize, to settle, and others later on to do business, so forth and so on. And then the lost sheep was brought over here because of our disobedience. We were brought into captivity, as Deuteronomy 68 and other places in the Holy Scripture prophesizes, as well as records and documents, and then we get the factual substantiated evidence, put it together, and then we have one complete clear picture on that. There are some who would seek to doubt that, but these are people who would doubt that fire is hot. You understand? We know that fire is hot. It can be scientifically proven that fire is hot. So you will get some people who are not dealing with reality. They don't want to deal with reality. But let's get into this Bantu myth a little more accurately. First of all, the first thing I did after I had read your comment, I recall that there was some linguistic chart I had seen a couple of years ago. I believe it was on the internet. It was online from some university or other scholars, which basically were making a new revolutionary kind of link between the Amharic East African languages as well as Bantu. I was unable to find that particular chart, but I will look into the archives for it, and any of you who probably know or think you know what I'm talking about, please present that information or a link or email or something on that, or you can blog it at ethiopianworldfederation.ning.com. Now, the first thing I did, I said, you know what, let's just see what information is out there. So let's first try to deal with the facts that are already out there on Bantu and the possible Ethiopian connection. I mean, it's more than possible, but from the perspective of how the facts are being presented to us at this very time. The first thing I did was go to the internet, and, you know, Wikipedia comes up first, but it has a lot of references to other books and other documentation out there. You can go to Google Books and you can look it up a little bit more if you really want to go into, you know, reading actually what was written and, you know, finding more of this for yourself. But the first thing I found out was that this whole idea of Bantu is like so many other things that have caused so much confusion in this modern world, is a fairly recent terminology. This is based on fairly recent terminology, this whole idea of Bantu. If you go to the Wikipedia site and you type in Bantu and you look that up, you go to the main page, not language, well, no, I think it's Bantu, yeah, Bantu languages, but you can also go to Bantu people. The first thing that I found out is that this whole terminology of Bantu, as it says right here, and this is interesting, it says the first paragraph, halfway into the first paragraph, says Bantu languages are spoken largely east and south of the present-day nation of Nigeria, i.e. in the regions commonly known as Central Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa. Now, if you go to older maps of Africa, you will find Ethiopia is identified as being in that same central, you understand, that central region, and on some maps a little more east or a little less east. And then there's another area which is called Abyssinian, or they call it Abyssinian. You understand? And a lot of these terminologies actually come from certain tribes, and we're going to try to articulate that a little bit more. But here it says that parts of this Bantu chunk of Africa also have languages from outside the Niger-Congo family. Now, these are terminologies that were coined in the 17 and the 18 and even in the 19th centuries. These are terminologies, recent terminologies that have been coined, and most people, Africans and others, we just gravitate to these terminologies, and we don't really go through, studying whether they are accurate or not, whether they are scientific or not. And this is what also, this is a point aside, but it's very much related, we think, when you think about what happened in Rwanda. If you do a little bit of research, you'll see that Tutsi and the Bantu, you see that there's some link right there with those peoples and these kind of terminologies, because of the confusion that they imply. It's all part of the divide et impera, it's all part of the divide and conquer strategy of white supremacy, that you'll find that a lot of the tribalism and the tribe on tribe and the brothers divided against each other and the tribal war and the massacres and the genocides and the conflict and lack of unity are also based on many of these unscientific and provocative notions that actually help and serve to divide and conquer people. And we know scripturally, biblically, and spiritually that this is the work of Satan, that Satan basically work is to divide and conquer and to cause enmity between brothers and brethren. You understand? So this is what some Ethiopians really don't recognize just yet. But let's first of all deal with this mythology by finding out who was the originator of this idea. Did the people actually call themselves Bantu? Were they calling themselves Bantu? And the Africans said, "Who are you?" And they say, "We Bantu." And they said, "Okay, you're Bantu," and this is how it came about. Well, according to the facts, it says that the word Bantu was first used by Wilhelm Heinrich Emanuel Bleek between 1827 to 1875. So the word Bantu was first used in what I guess they would call the 19th century or the 1800s with the meaning people. So the idea is people, as this is reflected in many of the languages of this group. A common characteristic of Bantu languages is that they use a stem form such as Ntu or tu for person. This is very interesting because if you look at the Amharic, you can find this as, as well. You have Sate, which means woman, you understand, and Satitu, you understand, Lij, which means child, or like a sometimes connotated a male child. Then you have Legitu, you understand. You have this Itu idea also within, Addis, Addisitu, you understand, Addisitu, Jerusalem, New Jerusalem. So we have the same idea really right there. And there's more that links Amharic especially with Bantu influences in the language, especially in the matters of germination. And what's interesting about that is not actually written with the script, but it's how the script is pronounced. So it's not found so much in how it's written, but how an Ethiopian reader or speaker would pronounce certain words. They would pronounce certain words in a Bantu-like germination, which shows something even deeper. This is what we talk about when we say that Ethiopians hate themselves. Many of them, not all, but unfortunately, many of them do. So this is more dealing with the rule right now than the exception. Many do hate themselves because they do not know themselves. A common characteristic of Bantu languages is that they use a stem form such as into or to for person, and the plural prefix for people in many languages is ba, they say, together giving Bantu, people. Now, Bleek and later Karl Meinhof pursued extensive comparative studies of Bantu language grammars. Now, if you continue on
ልጆች ሆይ እናንተ ለኔ እንደ ኢትዮጵያ ልጆች አይደላችሁምን? ይላል እግዚአብሔር።
Okay, we're going to briefly address